Now we get to the person who actually did the interrogation of Abu Zubaydah before the torture began. And that's FBI Special Agent Ali Soufan. And he's written an op-ed in the New York Times saying, look, I stayed quiet for 7 years on this as I knew things, of course, that other people did not know. It was classified information. And if they asked me to come into congressional hearings off the record, I would tell them what I knew, of course. I wasn't going to hide it. But obviously on the record, I wasn't going to say anything about issues that were classified. But I did the interrogations of Zubaydah before they decided to go to, quote-unquote, enhanced interrogations. And what Dick Cheney and others are telling you about what they learned through torture is flat out wrong. We got all that information, and it's documented, and it's in our notes, and it's at the FBI. We got all that information before they started torturing him. So he admitted that Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was the mastermind behind 9/11 when we were using absolutely safe and traditional methods, what the United States of America has always used for interrogation. He also said that Jose Padilla was a dirty bomber at that time. Now, that is a questionable claim. Whether he was tortured or not tortured, that claim turned out to be very questionable, but he said it before he got tortured. So he goes down the list and says, on item per item, I can show you in my notes where we got all that information before any of the waterboarding or any of the enhanced interrogation techniques began. So when Dick Cheney says, oh no, we got actionable intelligence from these guys, and specifically on Zubaydah, it is a flat-out, indisputable lie. Now, in terms of Ramzi bin al-Shibh, by the way, they say, oh yeah, Zubaydah told us about him after he got, a little enhanced interrogation. He says, again, not true. We can show you, and it's documented, that Ramzi bin al-Shibh's capture came primarily from a different terrorist operative who was interviewed using traditional methods, not torture. So once again, made up. And no one knows better because he was in charge of this for the FBI before they came in with the CIA to do the torture. And he says, look, there are other things that I cannot tell you about. There's still classified memos that show you that torturing these guys actually backfired, that we got bad information and it led to worse results. They haven't even released those memos yet. So wait till you get a load of those. And he said point number 2 is, look, 1, we got all the information already. 2, the only further information we got is that it was counterproductive and wound up hurting us. And point number 3 is it created a Chinese wall, as they say, between the CIA and the FBI. And this was part of the problem pre-9/11. But the reason they had to create this wall was because the FBI said, no, whoa, we're not going to do torture. And Robert Mueller at the FBI should be given a lot of credit for this. He was Bush's pick. And once he heard they were going to do these so-called enhanced interrogations, he basically told the FBI, we don't do that. And we think that is beyond the pale, and it is not legal, and we have no interest in participating. So they pulled their agents out. And when they did, you began to have a lack of communication between the CIA and the FBI. Now, of course, the Republicans, being the idiots that they are, they're like, aha, you see that? The FBI screwed up. They should have taken part in torture, too. No, the CIA should have never done it in the first place. They got nothing but wrong results out of it. And they jeopardized working together with the other agencies in order to do it. And by the way, Ali Soufan says that he does not believe the CIA agents should be prosecuted. He thinks, hey, you know what? They were doing what their superiors told them to do. I was lucky that we were at the FBI and we could say we didn't want to do it, and our bosses backed us up. And he thinks that mainly it was private contractors who did it, and that should be the real focus of the investigation. And one day it will be. One day the mainstream press will catch on to the fact that a lot of this torture was done at the hands of private contractors that Cheney and Rumsfeld hired. The private guys, mercenaries, brought in to do torture. So that'll be another layer to the story. Now, meanwhile, the guy who was charged by the military to do a report on Abu Ghraib in the first place is Major General Antonio Taguba. He is now retired. But they asked him to do the report. Hey, look, we're going to find out what happened at Abu Ghraib, and we'll see if everything was above board or was a few bad apples after they went to prosecute the so-called few bad apples. And Taguba said, no, it was because of the memos written by higher-ups. It was not just these guys that fantasized all these enhanced interrogation techniques, and they all magically matched up between Iraq and Afghanistan and Guantanamo, etc. No, it was the higher-ups. And now he comes out and says, quote, after years of disclosures by government investigations, media accounts, and reports from human rights organizations, there is no longer any doubt as to whether the current administration has committed war crimes. The only question that remains to be answered is whether those who ordered the use of torture will be held to account. So this is the guy that the military said, go and investigate what happened at Abu Ghraib, and he's saying, I'll tell you what happened. War crimes happened. And it was the Bush administration who ordered it, and now the only question is whether we're going to hold him to account or just let him go.